Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Join Terry with Tracer Rounds every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central to hear interviews with veteran artists, veteran business owners, and businesses that support veterans. Tune in to see if you're on target. Catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and MB Radio, giving veterans a voice.
Welcome back to the Tracer Rounds podcast, and I'm Tracer, your host, and I have the interview of the week, which is Lynnwood King. I'm so excited to have him back on the program because he was on one of my first series of interviews that I did, and I did it from a hotel room while on military duty with an awful computer. So the interview was pretty bad. I have to say I didn't really give him a good opportunity to really showcase his music or himself, because the video wouldn't play. Nothing seemed to work that day. So I wanted to give him a chance to come back on and really showcase his music and showcase his work. And so welcome to the podcast, Lynnwood.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, Tracer. Thanks for having me. And I think the show was great. The first show you did was awesome, man. But I appreciate the callback. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here.
Well, thank you. And so I know we talked a little bit about your military service to when you were on last time, but can you just refresh, in case the audience is new, can you let us know what branch and how long and maybe what you did and maybe some of your deployments or maybe some of your special assignments that you enjoyed?
All right. So my name is Lynnwood King. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was in from 92 to 96 active duty, 96 to 99 inactive reserve. I still count it though, I didn't do much, but proudly served. I joined during the first Gulf War, it ended right when I got in, and then I had a great MOS. My MOS was a combat lithography. So basically I just worked in a dark room developing film and doing all kinds of fun stuff with different units around Camp Pendleton. So it was a good MOS, and I think my favorite overseas deployment was to Okinawa. I was fortunate to stay a year there unaccompanied, and it was a great time. I loved it.
What did you like the most about it? I've never been to Japan.
Oh, well, we would do spy rigging when we were out there, and one of the most beautiful things is hanging off a rope from a helicopter looking at the island. That was breathtaking, and so the Okinawa is like, I tell my wife I want to go back there with her one day, but maybe one day. But that's probably the most beautiful place I've ever been to in my life. I loved it.
It sounds really neat. I've always wanted to go to, but I've not made it that way at all. So you've got one up on me for sure. So, so you're an artist, and so you have a band.
Yes,
So tell us
I
about
do.
your
I'm gonna
band.
move my
Tell us
camera.
about the iterations of your band and kind of the backstory of how you got started, and then maybe if you, when you started playing, like at what age and what did you play
Okay.
originally?
Well, I would have to say my main exposure to music was my mom. She was really into music, listening to records when we were growing up. And I had an uncle who was a guitar player. And so hanging out with him, I'd always wanted to learn from him. I'd learn guitar chords. And I was in church a lot. And in church, music was a big part of church. And I'm really big on my faith. And so that was part of my especially my journey in the Marine Corps was I was trying to live my faith, and a lot of that had to do with music.
Mhm.
I didn't play much music in the Marines. I was able to jam a little bit with my acoustic guitar, and it wasn't until I got out I realized I wanted to pursue it as a full-time career. And I didn't know anything. I just started hanging out with guys, putting bands together, and I was fortunate to be able to start some good bands and get exposed to some good people in the industry, and it helped me out along the way. And it, I morphed from that, which was I was in the Christian rock industry when I first started, and then I just realized I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in a Christian band. I wanted to be just in a rock band. And
Mhm.
so I started touring with another band, and we got, I guess, discovered by Motley Crue back in 2008. And they flew us out to LA a few times, and we signed a record deal, and just a lot of really amazing things happened during that time. So it's been I'm 52. I'll be 52 this year. I think I'm 52. I think. But I spent my 20s and 30s and 40s touring around the country playing rock and roll, and having a really amazing time. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, that sounds pretty amazing to get discovered by Motley Crue. I mean, they're big
Yeah.
stuff. They're big
It,
time. So.
it's funny because I was on tour and I met Vince Neil at the mall in Las Vegas. I saw him and he was going into a watch store, and I'm pretty good about just walking up to people. So I just
Yeah.
walked up to him and I introduced myself, told him about my band. He was cool, but I'm sure that happens to him all the time.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting flown to LA with my band to perform for him at the Whiskey A Go Go, and on the Marine Corps birthday. So
Oh, there
two
you go.
things. It was on the November 10th, and I performed for him. And from that whole experience, my band was able to lock in a endorsement with Gibson Guitars. We got endorsed by Ernie Ball Strings. And then as time went on, we were able to lock in a contract with Universal Records, Executive Music Group. And it was just a great launch pad for me. Me and my bandmates who were along with me on that journey were so blessed. We went from driving a little tiny beat up Dodge Discovery van to morphing it into a Sprinter van. And now I have a Sprinter black RV that can sleep 6 people. And it's just been a good journey, but it
Yeah.
had a lot of trials.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got some wins and some losses along the way, but you've learned things
Yeah.
during that process that have made you a better musician and a better band leader, I guess you would
Yeah.
say, because you manage the group and you manage the
Yeah.
schedule. Do you
Mhm.
do your own bookings, or do you have someone that books
I have a
concerts
I have
for
a
you
couple
or
of
gigs
I
for
have a
you?
couple of I have a couple of booking agents I work with, and I've had some pretty major booking agencies I worked with through the years. But at the moment right now, since I haven't been touring as much, I'm just using a regional agent to lock in my regional dates. So hopefully, my goal is to be back to touring again by fall or maybe next spring. But I
Mm.
finally got like a new lineup. I had to rebrand myself because before I was under the name The Heroine,
Yeah.
and that was a really great name, but it just kind of, especially on social media nowadays, we couldn't say the name. You couldn't search us in TikTok, and
Oh,
we lost our Meta accounts. So it just was a time where I had to just kind of make that change. I did that actually this year. So I was
yeah.
able to get all my content that I released under The Heroine. I started my own label, and now I have Wolf Music Group, and I own all my content. Fortunately, Universal, the record executives there were able to release all my masters. So I'm pretty fortunate. It's been frustrating because COVID kind of knocked everyone out, and
Yeah.
it was it's funny because now we can't blame COVID all the time. We got to get over that. And so that's
Right.
what I'm doing. I'm getting over it. I can't. Now's a new chapter. Time to just start over again. And it's hard getting a band together, though. I'll tell you that it's hard. So it's not like
Yeah.
it. Like when I first started, we were a bunch of kids just wanting to play rock and roll and tour, and we didn't care if we made money or not. We just wanted to do it. And then as
Right.
you get older, like now that I'm older and I'm established, I have fortunately, I'm financially able to just play music full time. It's hard finding musicians who are that dedicated like they are when you first start out. Because now I'm hiring guys to play with me. I have to hire people, and it's different. Where before I had business partners who
Yeah.
we failed, and we win and we lose together. Now I have to hire guys and pay them, and so it's totally different now. But it's cool. It's a small business, and that's the life of a small business owner. You have to prepare for those things and financially, figure out ways to make it work.
Well, I never really thought of a band as a small business, but you're right, it really is. And you're
Yeah,
really, paying the crew, paying the band, paying whoever, works around you. And so really it is a small business. So you are a business
it
owner.
is.
Um,
That
but
that's
you
the
happen to be a
that's the
musician too.
That's the other thing. A lot of veterans are small business owners, and one thing that helped me out, and I just encourage every veteran to do it, is to get your business certified as a small business owner company. So there's a process you can go through. You can go through the small SBA, the Small Business Administration, or
Mhm.
have a regional company I use out here, and they basically certify me as a veteran-owned small business, and it's good for everyone who owns a business. And in my case, a lot I get you get preference as a veteran. So whenever there's a big show coming through, a lot of the buyers know I'm a veteran, and so they'll work with me because they know I'm a veteran and I'm a certified business owner. So all that stuff helps out. Not
Yeah,
just in music, but just whatever business you're operating. And you
that's
got to
good
treat your
advice.
band. Yeah, you got to treat your band like a business because do your taxes, file your taxes, make sure you collect all your deductions, and it's a lot of work. But if you do it the right way, it opens up so many other doors for you. Because a lot of record companies and a lot of booking agencies and a lot of talent buyers, they see the legitimacy if you're operating as a business. You got your checking account, you got your EIN number, you got your certifications, all your certs. So that's important,
Yeah, no, you're right.
especially for
Like
musicians.
you're very smart when it comes to business. Did you have somebody that was kind of training you up or kind of giving
No,
you some guidance with?
no. I started my first business. I not only am I a musician, I kind of in 2003 when I started really getting traction, I uh, I was smart enough to start a business on the side to help supplement my income.
Yeah.
And fortunately, that business did really well. So when I wasn't making a lot of money playing music, I would still have income from my business. And and then it's vice versa. I make money playing music and that business would struggle. So it's kind of a back and forth thing. But
Yeah.
uh, you had to learn, you had to just kind of figure it out. I never knew how important it was to have general liability insurance. I mean, as an artist, I gotta have insurance to give to brands I work with. If I'm going to do a performance in a location that you need insurance, I have to bring my certificate of insurance or put them on they call it a COI. So
Yeah.
all that stuff, man, I had to learn the hard way because you don't know I didn't go to business school. I just went to church.
Right.
I just went, and being in the military though, I think that's the leg up veterans have, because when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was 22 and I was a man. Like I was touring with guys my age, some of them a little older, and they were so childish. And the way I handled my business, just because of my military experience, it just kind of put me a little ahead of all these guys. So that's the benefit too. I think every veteran, whether they know it or not, just from your military experience, has a leg up on the guys that didn't serve, because you come out of the Marine Corps or the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or the Coast Guard, you come out as a man and you pretty much know what you want and you know what to do to attack the plan and to make it happen. So
Right.
all that kind of helped me as a business person and as a musician as well.
Yeah, because it gave you the strength to do things
Yeah.
and to practice and just keep going and not
And it
stop,
gives you
when it got hard.
it gives you the motion to like for example, when you were doing things you didn't think you could do, and then when you got into the fleet, you're doing things, people have expectations of you, and then you're able to do things you didn't think you can do, and that confidence, it should follow you out of the military into whatever you're doing. And so I always, even to this day, I always try and implement my military service, what I learned from the Marine Corps, and I try and apply it to my daily life when it comes to just being disciplined in my eating and working out and teaching my kids and trying to lead my band. A lot of that, every veteran has that leg up, and we have to remember that. So whether you're a musician or a podcaster or a carpenter, construction guy, or whatever you do, always think of yourself as not better, but as more experienced, because the experience we gain from our service is second to none. And
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what helps us through all these rough times in life.
Yeah, I think so too, because it gives you, just something to lean or fall back on to say, I went through some tough times and I made
Yeah.
it, so I know I can make it through this too. And
Yeah.
like you said, it gives you the discipline, you're always focused on the mission first, and then, everything else will fall into place when you focus on the mission. So I agree with you.
I had this one super talented guitarist that was with me for about 5 years. So good. Like the guy he was amazing. He could have done so many great things. His problem was he didn't have the discipline to say no when it came to drugs, to alcohol, sex. It was just, he couldn't control himself. And I got after him one time because we're close in. I was a little older than him. And he'd always tell me, it's because you're a Marine, man. You know how to do, like, it's not fair. Like, he'd always just throw to me because I was in the Marine Corps, and like he just automatically thought because I was in the Marines, people give you stuff, and that's not true.
No.
you work you earn stuff, you work hard for stuff, and
Yes.
it's just amazing though, because like as a young man, a young entrepreneur, you don't realize it until you're in it how lucky we were to serve our country. We did, and I have no regrets. And I think anyone that served, regardless of what you've done in your service, you should be proud of it. You should just be proud of it, because you're bringing something to the world that not a lot of people can bring.
That's true. And
That's
a
helped me
lot
a
of
lot.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't serve for whatever reason. They're just, they're just not able to enlist. And so those of us that are able to enlist and have the honor to serve, I mean, I'm honored every day to think back on my service, and I don't regret a day of it either. I mean, some things were hard and some things were like, yeah, that sucked, but you get past the suck and it's pretty darn good on the other side of it. So
I have to say, I loved your intro, man. I was getting chills listening to it. That was awesome.
Joel, our H Train, our executive producer, he puts those together pretty much. And he's pretty good at that. And I really like those videos he adds to. I think they're pretty inspiring.
He did a good job.
Very good. So we're going to play your song Hardworking Man. So do you want to kind of talk about it a little bit and tell us the backstory on it before we play it?
So the song Hardworking Man, I actually wrote it in my garage over here. And it was it's just a song basically about just the blue collar guy getting up there, doing the grind, working every day, working hard. And I think one of my favorite lyrics I've ever written is in that song, which is in the bridge. It says, "He carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. I learned that as I got older." You know what I mean? Like, you don't realize your daddy, because it's about my daddy. It's about my father. It's about me being a father. It's about my dad. It kind of intertwines me and my dad and how I hope my kids see me when they get older, which they're already pretty much older now. But it's just an outlook on how I'd want my kids to realize being a parent or being a man or even a mother or you're carrying so much weight that the kids never see.
Right.
And so that song is just basically just about the blue collar guy that gets up every day, goes to work, is unappreciated, and takes the risk, gets out there and tries to live his dream, whatever it is. And, hopefully it inspires people. But that's the song, Hardworking Man.
Well, we're going to play it now, and everybody's going to get a chance to hear your craft.
Awesome.
Here we go.
Oh.
Daddy was a gambler, spent his life taking risk. He worked hard with that hammer, made little with clenched fists. And Mama always cried for the things that he done. He got his loving on the run. Daddy was a gambler, he was a hard-working man. Daddy was a gambler, spent his life taking risks. He was hard with the hammer, made little with his fist. Mama always cried for the things that he done. He got his loving on the run. Daddy was a gambler, he was a hard-working man. Oh yeah, hard-working man. Oh yeah. That he was blue collar, and he worked hard for that money dollar. Yeah, Mom always cried for the things that he done. He got his loving on the run. Daddy was a gambler. He was a hard-working man. Oh yeah, hard-working man. Oh yeah. Carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. I learned that as I got older. He had earth on his hands and fire in his soul. He taught me two things: how to work hard and how to rock and roll. No matter what trials and tribulations came his way, he always seemed to make it through. And he had himself a good one and two. Everyone had against one the other. He was a fighter, he was a lover. Hard-working man. Hard-working man. Oh yeah, hard-working man. Oh yeah.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome, Quack.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Welcome back to MBR, and you're on the Tracer Rounds podcast, and I'm your host, Tracer, and with me tonight is Lynnwood King, and he is with, he's with the Revival, Lynnwood King and the Revival, and we just heard Hardworking Man, and you kind of give us the backstory on it, and I think it does kind of tell the story of the blue-collar man, like you said, having to get out there every day and just get it done.
Yeah. Just and keep chasing whatever God put in your heart, whatever dream you have. Keep going at it, man. And as I get older, I think about, I'm like interested in what 70 and 80-year-olds are doing, right? And a lot of, because when you're young, you don't think about those things. Now that I'm in my midlife, like I don't know if it's my later years, you start to realize you can still be older and have a dream. You can still be older and chase the desire God put in your heart, and that it doesn't change. And so I think a lot of that still motivates me, should motivate all of us to try and not just give up on life and not just give up on your dream, regardless of what it is. And I think that song still resonates like that. It kind of just helps you. I think one of the things was I guess the hook would be Daddy was a gambler. As a young father, I was still going on tour and I had kids at home. I had a family. I had, my wife and I'm like every other Marine. That I got divorced when I was young. My first marriage ended in divorce, and then I remarried and I had kids, and my kids were young, and I was just stepping out in faith, chasing the dream, and balancing all that, because it's a gamble. Whenever you go after a dream, or whenever you go after a desire in your heart that is just big enough that you think you can make it, it's a risk. You got to take that gamble, and if you don't take that risk, you're gonna miss it. That song "Hardworking Man" comes off Playing for Keeps, and the reason why I named that album Playing for Keeps was because you have to approach life going all in with it. You can't just partly go. You got to go all in with it. You got to dive in. And that to me was, Daddy was a gambler. He's freaking taking these risks that not everyone's willing to take. And sometimes it doesn't pay off. Sometimes it does. But you have to remember, are you all in it? Are you really playing for keeps? Are you doing this for real? And that whole album to me speaks that. It speaks about that. And Man song, by the way, that song's on Bar Rescue. If anyone's ever seen that Bar Rescue, that song was placed on it, and I still get a little royalty every quarter for that song. So that song did really well for me. Yeah. And my bandmates that were a part of that recording, the musicians that recorded that song with me, we really went through the grind together, and we accomplished a lot together as a band. So that whole record is kind of like, that's what we were. That was who we were. We were all in it. We were literally playing for keeps. And that song "Hardworking Man" was just like our Odie. That was like our theme song for that record.
Your anthem.
Yes, our anthems. Like that's what we were about. And when we play that song live, there was always magic. I remember when I first sang that song live, probably the first, even still today, I still get teary-eyed when I'm singing it, especially the bridge, because it just means so much to me, Yeah. And when I perform that song, it's powerful. And when the band is in it and it's a live show, because there's nothing better than a live show. You can sell records. You're only alive, you only have this much time to do something live.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, you're gonna miss it. And I'm grateful that I've been able to play live shows for 3 decades. Well, I started 22, so I'm 30 years, man.
Wow.
30, and I'm grateful. And I've had like, it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but I've 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 had some really good accomplishments in that time. I have some amazing memories and amazing shows, man. Uh, and that song was always a song that resonated with the audience whenever we performed it. So that whole record is just, to me, it means a lot, and I'm so proud. We just re-released it on the 15th, so it just came out on Spotify and Apple Music, and that is one of my proudest records. That whole album, and again, it's just like life. You have to really be willing to go all in with it, and
I agree
I
with
think
you.
that resonates with veterans because we literally went all in with it when we joined the military. When we joined the
Yep.
service, we were like, I'm doing this, and that was our whole life.
It
That's what we
was.
identified ourselves at. And it's I hear this a lot. A lot of guys get out of the military and they kind of lose their identity. You know, they get out
Yeah.
and the camaraderie is not there. Uh, there's no more missions to go on. There's no more. There's no team to be around. And so for me, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I didn't. Everything went into my music, and my new team was my band. Uh,
Yeah.
my our band that we toured in was like our tank. That was like we were. That was, it felt like that was my family. Of course, I loved my wife and my kids, and they're always first. But that was I didn't miss. Fortunately, I didn't miss that part because I found my new identity. Whereas, of
Yeah.
course, I'm always proud to be a Marine, but you have to find, what are you going to identify yourself as when you get out, and are you going to throw yourself into it? And it's always been my faith, and then my family and my music. So I went from the Marine Corps, because that was my life, was the Marines. I loved it. I loved every part of it. Of course, there were some Marines I didn't want to be around and I didn't like, but when you transition out, for me, in my case, I was fortunate enough to find my team and the guys I could suffer with, and the guys I can enjoy these great wins with. And so I encourage anyone that's getting out, or if you're out right now and you're kind of like lost because you miss that, that part of you that has purpose. First of all, find it in God, find it in Jesus. And then secondly, find your team. Regardless of where your team is, find your team and go after the mission, whatever new mission you have. And that's important. I think that helped me a lot. Being in a band is like really like being on a fire team, having your point guy and your rifleman. And it's just, it's amazing. And I think that's why I gravitated to it and I love it. And I'm never going to stop doing it. That's just what I love.
That's
Go listen
amazing.
to the album. Playing for
Right.
Keith.
Yeah. Go get it on Spotify or
Stream it.
Apple,
Yes.
iHeart Music or Apple
Yeah, I heard it. It's
iTunes.
all the platforms.
Right. YouTube. It's all there. So why
Yes.
don't we play Don't Walk Away? You want to tell us
Okay.
about Don't Walk Away and kind of give us the
Okay.
backstory on that?
So, my background is really just straight blues, rock and roll, little heavy stuff. And so, this year, I kind of wanted to just make a change and try something new. So I was, my wife and I, for some reason, weren't talking for a couple of days, and it was like, marriage is rough sometimes. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I was trying to I didn't want to fight, I didn't want to get upset because she's going through some stuff, make sure she's not around. We think she's going through menopause. And so these changes, I don't think she hears me. Oh, I have cameras there.
Uh-oh.
But these changes, you don't realize for her or for women, husbands don't understand that sometimes. And so I was mistaking her talking to me as being upset with me. And I was I was getting on edge. I was really getting on edge. So I went into my room and I started just playing. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, it's been way too long since I heard your voice call my name, because I hadn't talked to her. And then it came to me like, that's kind of how God feels sometimes about me when I don't pray or when I'm not seeking him or reading the word. It's like, you know, it's been way too long since I heard your voice call my name. And then it just got to the point where I started wanting to write on that. And it's a very simple, easy song. It's repetitive. And I think the mood that I was in was more of a, it was not a bad mood, but just a mood of realizing I want to hear you. I want to be with you. I need your love. And that's kind of where the song goes. And it's kind of a dancey song. It's not anything like Playing for Keeps. But I was reluctant on releasing it. But my wife was like, who cares? Just, if you like it, just put it out there. And that's what we did. So that's what Don't Walk Away is.
All right. Well, so let's hear it. Don't Walk Away,
All right.
Lynnwood King.
Felt your touch. It's been way too long since I heard your voice call my name. I don't wanna leave you now, no. Baby, don't walk away, no. It's been way too long since I heard your voice call my name. It's been way too long
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Welcome back from the break. You're on the Tracer Rounds podcast on MBR, and tonight's guest and the veteran we're giving a voice to is Lynnwood King. I have to tell you that if somebody isn't listening to those songs in the earphones, they're missing out, because I'm telling you, I am hearing every sound, and it is just awesome.
Thank you. They sound better with headphones. I agree.
I mean, you can really hear all the different guitars and notes and rhythms and everything. Like, awesome. I mean, you can really hear the whole song, and it's the way it's meant to be experienced.
Yeah,
I love it.
Thank you.
We H Train is on the show. I mean, in the comments tonight, and so is Red. He's another one of our hosts, and they were commenting. They were saying good evening to you, and that they were liking to listen as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about your TikToks and your videos and the things that you put out almost daily, it seems like, and they're so inspirational. You're just talking basically to yourself, but you're all talking to us at the same time, saying, really don't give up, just keep going. You never know when that next break is going to come, when you're the thing you've been waiting on is just around the corner.
That's true.
Just tell me how you decided to start doing that. But I'm glad you do, because I listen all the time. So I appreciate that.
It started out with, first of all, not being able to tour. Kind of like I felt like my voice was taken from me. Like I didn't have a place, because I wasn't really using social media or live streaming pre-COVID. I was always touring. And so my thing was, I was touring, and I would just use my social media to advertise my tours, maybe connect with some fans and friends once in a while. But when I stopped touring, you have to learn how to stream. You have to learn how to live stream and work the performance in that way. That's like the new way to do it now.
Right.
And I was so depressed, feeling like my voice was taken from me. And then one day I was just in my room practicing or maybe writing songs. And then I just decided I'm going to start live streaming my performances. Then I'm going to start talking. And it went from my kids were encouraging me to use TikTok, because I lost my Facebook. I lost Meta. I lost all of my Meta. Instagram. I was monetized on Instagram. Like, I was finally making money on Instagram, because I was doing a lot of reels there, but I wasn't doing really, they were just like funny skits. When I lost that, I got real depressed, because I didn't have a way to reach anybody. And then one day I started thinking about, and I made it a spiritual thing. Like, the devil wants to keep your voice. He wants to keep you quiet. He wants to silence you. Really, he wants to silence your faith, but he also wants to silence your voice in however you display it or put yourself out there in a way to reach people, to help them. Because I always feel like, for me, music was a ministry. Music was a way I can connect with people and help them know more about God, and also know more about my faith in terms of how I overcame a lot of trauma and stuff in my life. So one day I was just doing a talk on TikTok, and I thought, wow, this is really, I'm like preaching to myself. And the really, one of the first ones was about your voice. Don't let them take your voice. Don't let someone silence you, regardless if you think differently than them, or if you think like, whatever you're trying to put out there that's good, that's encouraging. Don't let someone stop you. And so that was kind of the start of it, And then those are real life experiences. Like, I literally have been at home wondering, how am I going to pay this bill next week? I'm serious. Like, I got this bill coming up, and I had no clue how it would happen. And then I get a call out of the blue. Hey, you want to come perform this show? We're going to pay you $800 to do this. And I'm like, wow, like, out of the blue. And it's like, things like that happen all the time. And if you just trust God and you stay consistent, those are things that I know happen, because they've happened to me. Like, dude, I I got a record deal in my 40s, signed a recording contract. I had a record deal when I was in my 20s, and then I've had 4 record deals in my life. I'd have never thought that would happen to me. I've been on the radio many times. I was on television a few times. I've been flown all over the country. I've played LA many times in front of sold out crowds at the Whiskey A Go Go, and I've had bad times where I've played in front of nobody. So I've been in these situations where you think it's always going to be easy, and then when it gets hard, you really have to depend on your faith. And I know, like these are things that I've been through. Like I've received that call when out of the blue I was thinking, I'm a failure. How am I going to make it? And it happens to everyone. You know, my wife is, first of all, the best person that I know, the most loving person. She donated her liver to my mama. She saved my mom's life. My wife did that. And she goes through it too. She gets depressed and she gets down. And it's just, everyone goes through that. And so when I do one of those videos or I talk about my experience, like, let me go to my service. When I joined the Marines, I wanted to be a war fighter. I wanted to be like, I didn't understand MOSs. I didn't understand anything about serving. I just thought I'm gonna join the Marine Corps because I'm gonna go to combat. Yeah. And I got stuck with the least combat job. So then I felt a lot of humility. But then I said, I'm gonna go try for recon. And no one would give me that chance. My unit told me I couldn't do it. My staff NCOs told me I couldn't do it. So one day, I literally drove to Camp Margarita on Camp Pendleton. I walked up to Recon Company. I knocked on the door and asked to speak to the CO. The XO was there, and he let me talk to him. I convinced him to let me talk to the first sergeant in charge of doing all the screening and the indoctrinations. First Sergeant Todd was his name. And I went in that room with him, and he was interviewing me. And he says, son, first of all, you're too old. I was maybe 20, 21. He's like, you're too old. And then he says, secondly, you're not combat arms. They're not going to let you do this indoc. You're not combat arms. And thirdly, you're an NCO. You're a corporal. You're going to be competing with these young guys fresh out of boot camp, fresh out of SOI, who are in the best shapes of their lives. They're gonna, you're gonna get embarrassed. And I said, I want to do it, First Sergeant. I want my opportunity to do this with reconnaissance, because I felt so humble. I'm seriously, people don't realize, sometimes it's not your fault, but a lot of guys will minimize your service because you didn't go into combat, or they minimize your service because you weren't infantry. And so I was always trying to prove myself as a young Marine. I always was trying to prove myself. So when everyone was telling me no, I literally went up there and just like kicked the door in. They, as a joke, I'm sure, was like, let's let this dude do it. Let's let him fail. Right. And I got up at 0300, went to Camp Pulgas, and I started the indoc with 13 other Marines, all PFCs and privates or Lance Corporals, fresh out of boot camp, SOI. And there was one guy who just finished BUDS. He was a corpsman. They said he finished BUDS. I don't know if he did or not, but that's what we were told. He was the 13th guy. In the pool that morning, everyone failed but 2 of us. That's just a swim qual. I passed it, and another PFC passed it. That corpsman didn't pass it, but they let him through because he had gone through BUDS, is what they told us. I don't know. But what turned out, what I think they thought was a joke, ended up being one of the best experiences of my life, because that was one of the most challenging days of my life. Okay. And going through that entire day, getting the crap beat out of you, finishing that day, and getting a letter of recommendation to the Commandant of the Marine Corps to transfer me from my MOS to that MOS was one of the greatest feelings of my life. Yeah. But those things right there, it's like part of you feels, and this is true for, I don't care who you are. A lot of us walk around feeling inadequate, feeling unworthy, feeling like you don't deserve things, or maybe you weren't good enough. But from my experience, you're good enough. You're worthy of it, especially of God's love. And to the veterans that walk around feeling like your service didn't matter because you weren't doing all the cool stuff, everyone's service matters because your role impacts the entire fleet. My role, I thought about this the other day, even though I wasn't able to do my dream, I got the chance, but ended up getting deployed to Japan right before I was able to even do anything else with that. I thought to myself, the MOS I had though, I was impacting thousands and thousands of Marines in a way that I met a scout sniper about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and we are talking about his service and my service. And I let him know what I did, and he was like, "Man, you don't realize, but what you did, we were utilizing the things you were doing, the things you were creating for our training." And I was like, "That's true." So even though you're thinking that little thing you're doing doesn't matter, in the grand scheme of things, it does matter. And that was kind of like the motivation behind these videos that I post, and I try and post consistently, is it doesn't matter what you're doing, your status, where you're at. What matters is you have value, regardless of what you're bringing to the table. You have value. And the other thing is you can accomplish anything if you put your trust in the Lord and you work hard and you strive. It can happen. It's happened for me, and I'm grateful, man. Man, look at my house, man. I got a beautiful. It's a small house, but it's beautiful. I got a beautiful yard. I got a beautiful family. I got goats and chickens out here in my freaking. I got my wife and I were talking the other day. I was feeling a little down. I said, you know what, man? I had to start over with my band. Like 52 years old, I'm hiring new guys to play with me. I'm working out new sets. I'm starting to get traction again with touring. But I told my wife the other day, I go, man, I just feel like I feel so down right now. I just feel like my music career just doesn't matter. And then she looked at me and she just like slapped me in the face. She was like, you know what? You have me, you have our kids, our grandkids, you have our house, and you're telling me that don't matter? And I was like, man, God is so good, because that's what matters. You know, of course, everyone wants to advance in their career, and we want to make an impact in a way that, you know, gets you accolades and makes you feel important. But really, what matters is your family, what you're doing, what your children are going to do when you're gone, that legacy. And yeah, my music career, maybe it's not what it should have been or what I hope it would be, but man, I'm so grateful for all these experiences. And I want to encourage people. So showing those videos and putting up that content, it's important because I really feel like it can help somebody. And at the end of the day, that's why I do what I do. That's why I play music. I want to encourage and help people. And of course, I want you to have a killer show, a good time when you come watch us play.
Well, I think you're doing that. And those videos are very inspirational, and I do listen to them, and I listen to some of them over and over because I'm like,
Right
I
on.
really need to hear that message again. So I really
Please.
appreciate you putting them out
Thank
there
you,
for us
Tracer.
to consume.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna keep working at it, and I'm sure my neighbors, because I have 3 neighbors around me. Sometimes I'm out here just acting a fool, but they've known me. They've known me for. They know what I do, so they had their ear my whole career. I'm sure, being my neighbors. So I love it. I love doing it.
They're going to be able to say, I knew Lynnwood win.
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
So you've got a full schedule of performances coming up, right? And so you
Yes.
can find those schedules on the wolfmusicgroup.com.
Wolf
Is that
Music.
where the best place
It'll
to
be
find
on
it?
wolfmusicgroup.com or lynnwoodking.com. So it'll be all there. And if you go to my social media pages too, all my Instagram, my YouTube, my TikTok and Facebook, they all have links to my websites and Spotify. If you're on Spotify, you just go to my page and it shows all my tour dates on Spotify, and it should do that on Apple Music also. So
Very
all my tour
nice.
dates are on there.
You look like you're really going to be really busy.
Yes, I like being busy.
Yeah. I could tell you do. And I told you the last time that you were on the show, and I was watching one of the videos that we actually had that was live performance, and you just move around like so much. And I asked you if you were exhausted after it, and you said, yeah, maybe a little bit. And I was like, man, you exhaust me just watching first like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know how he keeps up with that, because you are so energetic on the stage. I don't know if it's an adrenaline boost or what's going on, but
it's lots of coffee.
Lots of coffee.
But I'm going to tell you this. I heard a preacher one time say, you should go to bed exhausted from the day of working hard. And there's no greater feeling than laying in bed after putting your best out there. Like last night, I played a gig last night at a little show, and I got home. I played for 4 hours straight, standing up, playing and singing. And I got home, and I sat on my bed, got undressed. I went and brushed my teeth, but I laid down, and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, man, this feels so good. And I was out. So that's a good feeling. Working hard and just doing your best I think that's what God created us to do. Get out there and go after whatever he puts in your heart with all you got. And at the end of the day, you can lay in bed satisfied knowing that, man, I did my part. And that's the feeling. Yeah,
I can't agree more. I mean, like, if you're not giving it your all, then you're not giving God what he's given to you to use. You know, if you're only given 50%, then God's work isn't being done because you're not giving your all, and he gave you his all.
Amen. It's
true. To put out there. So if you're not giving 100%, then you're not doing what God wants you to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's right. I agree.
Well, we've got about 3 minutes left. Is there anything you want to put out? Anything you want to say? Any new music? Any new thing that's coming down the pike that you want people to know about?
I think I'm playing a show this Saturday in Grapeland, Texas, and it's really my first coming out show with my new lineup. And if you can maybe say a little prayer for old Lenny King, because this is actually a really big event for me. I haven't played on a big stage in an actual festival type stage in a few years. So I have a lot of, I'm excited, but I'm also, a little bit like, I hope we do a good job. So that's kind of what's coming up here shortly. And that's what we're getting ready for. So if you're in the Houston area or you're near Grapeland, Texas, come to the show. It's actually called the Texas Chopper Music Festival. So it's a biker rally. So it's going to be cool.
Nice. Sounds good. I wish I could make it down that way, but I will be praying for you. And I know you'll do just fine, because I know you're putting your foot where God wants you to put it, and you're going to be successful because you're following his lead and you're letting him guide your path. So
thank you, Tracer. Thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for all you do for the veterans and all my veteran brothers and sisters out there, man. Just keep working hard. And I know depression's a real thing. I know that mental illness is a real thing. Really get the help you need for that. Especially if you're locked in with the VA, get out there and get the help. Call a brother up, talk to one of the other military friends of yours. Sometimes you just need a vent. Dump it out, let it out. It's good for your soul, man. Love you guys.
All right. Well, this is Tracer Round signing off. Thank you, Lynnwood. I appreciate it. Good luck on your concert.
I'm going to run to rehearsal. I got to run to rehearsal, but God bless you guys.
Same to you. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.